Hey everyone, and welcome into today's episode. It's so nice to be here with you. I am excited for this topic that we're going to be diving into today. This conversation that I'm going to be bringing you is a short and punchy one, and I want to get straight to the point of it with you. So, I'm going to be sharing with you why positive thinking isn't helping you and what to do instead. So if you're someone who's wanting to create change in some way within yourself or your life, so maybe you're wanting to change how you're feeling in a certain moment, you're not feeling good, you're feeling kind of low, kind of funky, kind of flat, kind of negative. Maybe you're having some negative thoughts that you're wanting to change. Maybe there's some critical or unsupportive self-talk. Maybe you're bumping up against limiting beliefs and you're wanting to change that. Maybe there's an area of your life you're wanting to change or improve, or there's a problem you're wanting to solve. And if you are primarily trying to use positive thinking, mindset work, changing or reframing your thoughts to resolve that, I'm going to tell you why this is not working for you, why this is not helpful, and why it may actually be backfiring for you and keeping you more stuck and more frustrated and less able to create change. Now, this isn't about demonizing and making wrong positive thinking or mindset work. It actually really does work for some people, and it works in some contexts and situations. But there's also a lot of times it does not work. It is not what is needed in that moment truly, and it makes things so much worse. So this conversation today is going to be super practical, super to the point. I'm going to share with you what to do instead in these moments when you're trying to change your thoughts. It's not helping you feel any better. I'm going to give you a little framework of what to do instead, and I'm going to really help you understand this in a super practical way, why sometimes this approach just does not work. Okay? So let's get into it. First off, let's talk about why positive thinking isn't enough, isn't helpful, and is keeping you stuck. So when we talk about positive thinking, we're talking about mindset work, really where all of our focus is up in our minds. We're working consciously to try to change our thoughts, to try to shift our beliefs, to try to change our self-talk, to change what we're focusing on, to change what we're thinking about, and to change what we're telling ourselves, right? And have you ever had the experience of that being really, really hard to do? So if you found yourself in situations where you're feeling kind of negative, you're having thoughts that are really fear-based or worrisome or anxious or dark, maybe you're being quite self-critical in that moment, quite hard on yourself, finding it hard to believe in yourself, and you're wanting to change it because it doesn't feel good. And so you try to change what you're thinking and what you're telling yourself and what you're focusing on. How does that work for you? Well, I know for me, I've tried that a lot of times and it doesn't work for me and it doesn't help. And often when we're trying to practice something like positive thinking, what we're trying to do is really actually escape from what we're feeling and distract from what we're feeling, or cover up or avoid or shift out of something that we don't want to feel or experience in that moment. And we're using this sort of strategy of changing our thinking to change a feeling and to have the feeling that we're feeling go away, because we have this idea in that moment that our thoughts are the problem. It's the thoughts we're thinking that are causing what we're feeling, and that's the problem. And on some level, that's true. I'm going to go deeper into that and help you really understand where all these thoughts are coming from. And so the problem with this approach is I see it keeps women super stuck in their heads. It often creates more mental noise, more overthinking, all this self-analysis, and then all this frustration itself, because you can't seem to get in charge of what's happening in your mind. And it often doesn't create like actual proper change in how you feel. I've tried this so many times, and when I'm really feeling a certain way emotionally, I can only seem to get these thoughts, these new positive thoughts, to stick for a few minutes, a few seconds even, before I feel myself pulled back into that emotional state that I'm in. And one of the key things that's going on here is that the thoughts you're trying to think in that moment are out of alignment with what you're feeling. They're out of alignment with what's happening in your body, and they're out of alignment with the state of your nervous system in that moment. And so you're trying to simply use the mind, right? You're disregarding all this other stuff that's happening in the body and the nervous system. You're trying to simply use the mind to focus on changing your thinking in order to get yourself to feel differently, right? But many of you have probably noticed it doesn't tend to make that feeling go away. And I'm going to get into this in a minute, but what I want to say here is there are times where positive thinking works. There are times when mindset work works. If you are already feeling fairly calm, fairly relaxed, fairly chill, fairly optimistic about life, fairly receptive, and you introduce some thoughts that are positive and also optimistic and constructive and based on self-love and based on what's possible for you and based on trusting the universe, you'll probably be pretty receptive to those thoughts. They'll resonate, they'll land, and you'll feel them in your body. And you'll probably feel like, oh yeah, these thoughts feel really, really good to think. But if at any moment you are dysregulated, you're overwhelmed, you're stressed, you're feeling very emotional, you're feeling very negative, very down, or you're feeling shut down, this is not the time to do mindset work. And this is often when we try to do mindset work, but it is simply not the time to do it. There are times that mindset work is useful. There are times we want to introduce consciously some more constructive, positive, loving thoughts. But when you're highly activated, highly stressed, highly emotional, highly dysregulated, that is not the time. Okay. So the second piece here that we want to understand is the role of embodiment and our nervous system in how it informs our thoughts. Because we might think these thoughts are coming in response to something that we're feeling. We might think these thoughts are coming in response to something that happened. We might think these thoughts are just coming out of nowhere. So we want to understand what's really driving all of this, what might feel like quite negative energy in the mind. So the issue I have with positive thinking and with mindset work solely, when that's primarily what people focus on, is that it's all about creating change in the mind, but it completely disregards the body, right? And what I'm going to tell you is going to help you understand the reason why you're actually having negative, stressful, or overwhelming thoughts. It's because of what's happening in your body in that moment. And when we're doing the mindset work, we are not at all aware of what's happening in our bodies, which is actually the very thing that is fueling and driving all of these thoughts. And this is why I'm so big on embodiment work, because embodiment work is about the mind-body connection. It's about looking at how they impact each other and understanding that and knowing that we can't work on one without the other. And so that's the limitation of positive thinking and mindset work, is all the focus is solely in the mind, trying to change the body's experience through the mind. Embodiment work is about working on both the mind-body connection and really getting them working in relationship and understanding how they're impacting each other, right? So here's the real key point I want to invite you to open up to. That it's not only what's happening in our body that's creating our thoughts and fueling and driving our thoughts. It's also the state of our nervous system in that moment. The state of our nervous system informs the quality of our thoughts. And the kinds of thoughts that we find ourselves thinking are determined by what's happening in our nervous system in that moment. Our thoughts are always going to match the state that we're in. So when you're feeling dysregulated, overwhelmed, stressed, your nervous system is in a heightened state, there's some type of perceived threat or danger or stressor that's created some activation in the body. Maybe your body's even gone into a state of dysregulation where there's like a collapse, a hopelessness, a shutdown, a giving up. Your mind becomes a reflection of that. The energy that is activated and alive in your body and in your nervous system starts to fuel your thoughts, right? Because it's all this energy that's moving through your body. It's the whole way your energy system is functioning. And all of that energy is now getting fed up into the mind and is activating all of these different types of thoughts inside the mind. So your thoughts are a reflection of the state of your nervous system and how you are feeling. So if you understand it from that perspective, you can see why just trying to think more positively is not getting to the root of the problem. It's not addressing the reason why the thoughts are there in the first place. So when we're not working through on a deeper level what's happening in our bodies, what's activated in our nervous system, all this excess energy gets stuck in the body because we're not processing it. We're just like, oh, I just need to think differently. And then all that excess energy is feeding all these thoughts. So what do? Well, we stop trying to just change our thoughts. You're like changing the symptom. You're not getting to the root cause of why all those thoughts are there. And then we start shifting our focus deeper into the body and into the nervous system to work on resolving what is causing all of this thinking and all of these thoughts. We get into the body to regulate the nervous system, shift what we're feeling, change our state. And when we do that, we get access to different thoughts. Yeah? Our thoughts now start to reflect the state of our nervous system, which has changed, the state of how we feel and of our embodiment. And so before I get into giving you my little framework of what to work through in these moments, besides trying to think positively and just change your thoughts, I want to share with you why positive thinking does work for some people and why it does work in some moments, but not in others. And this is because it's all dependent on the state of your body and your nervous system. So I know there are people who respond really, really well to mindset work, who, that's a big part of their brand and work in the world is helping people work on their mindset, change their thoughts, think more positively, reframe their beliefs. And I know people who do this personally, and they get a lot of results from it. But here's what I would say about those people. If you think about any of these people that you know in your life who can respond really well to just a bit of mindset work and positive thinking or practicing some affirmations, it's because they generally have a pretty regulated nervous system. They are someone that you would look at and typically think they're a fairly calm, optimistic, grounded, relaxed, happy person most of the time. Of course, everyone has their moments of trigger and overwhelm and activation, but most of the time, they live in a pretty regulated resource state. They're a fairly calm, grounded, optimistic, happy person. So it's really easy for them to work in that mindset realm because if they do try to bring in a more positive thought, it's very in alignment with what's happening inside their nervous system in that moment. And their nervous system is naturally informing those more constructive, positive, optimistic, hopeful, happy thoughts because their mind's a reflection of what's happening in their nervous system, right? So I really think about this with people that I know who work a lot in the mindset realm is because they have this type of nervous system. And so maybe they do have moments where fear or limiting beliefs arise, but because that's not an overly dysregulating experience for them, and that isn't their dominant way of being, and maybe they don't have a whole heap of unprocessed trauma that's getting really activated in that moment, it's fairly easy for them to shift themselves out of it. Like, here's an example. I've over the years struggled with insomnia. And a lot can happen in my nervous system. I get dysregulated, I get overwhelmed, I get anxious, and I can't get to sleep. And as a result, a lot of negative ways of thinking come up in my mind. A lot of limiting beliefs, a lot of negative stories, and things that aren't constructive. And sometimes I share them with my partner. And you know what he says to me? He says, "You need to change your thoughts. You just need to tell yourself a different story about sleep. You need to shift some of your negative beliefs." And I'm like, I get that. I totally get that. And that's very easy for someone who's very relaxed about sleep, who has no trauma around it, who has no anxiety or worry around it, and who in general is a pretty calm, regulated person. All they need to do is just change the way they're thinking, and then things click. But for someone like me, it does not work, because in that particular moment, there is too much activation and dysregulation and emotion inside my system that is just flooding me with stress hormones, fueling all of those thoughts, and simply trying to change them is just not going to work. I've had to do a lot of the deeper, more somatic embodiment work to learn how to shift my nervous system out of stress and into safety, process some of the emotions that I'm feeling, bring myself into a greater space of calm, and then I can respond to making those shifts to how I'm thinking and how I'm talking to myself in that moment. So for people like me, maybe people like you who can tend to easily get overwhelmed, triggered, anxious, stressed, emotional, what you actually need is embodiment and nervous system work first before you can respond well to mindset work and positive thinking. Okay, super important. So what do we do? I want to give you a little process here. And this is like the type of process I would work through in myself. So let's say you're in this situation, you can tell you've got all these crazy thoughts going on, a lot of fear, a lot of stress-based thoughts, worry, worst case scenario, or maybe your thoughts are just really negative. You're struggling to believe in yourself, you're feeling a little down on yourself, you're not feeling good about yourself, whatever it is that's going on. The first thing I want you to do is just notice that. And we bring curious witnessing. We just bring gentleness and compassion and be like, wow, let me notice, like, what are these thoughts? What are these stories that are going through my mind? And you want to witness it, but not try to fix it. Don't try to reframe it. Don't try to make it better. And also don't follow it down the path where you end up just making it worse. See it like clouds that pass through the sky, and you just witness them. And there's that thought and there's that thought. And it might be useful to write them down or journal them and just witness and notice what's there. But don't try to do anything here in the mind to fix it, because you're just going to get more stuck. The second thing I want you to do, this is what I always practice when I notice there's a lot happening in my mind. I stop, I close my eyes, I take a breath, and I ask myself, what is happening in my body right now? What is happening in my body right now? And when you do that, you are sort of scanning through the body to name and identify feelings, sensations, and emotions. Just dropping awareness into the body and notice what's going on in here. And you're probably going to notice some parts of your body feel tight, tense, contracted. Some parts of your body might have energy getting activated, like a buzzing, a movement of energy, a butterfly of energy, a tightness, a soreness of energy. You might notice places of your body feel heavy and flat and contracted and dense. You're going to notice all of that. You might notice emotion present as well. I'm going to invite you to scan through the body and ask yourself, what is happening in my body right now? And whatever you notice, just take some breaths into it. I also want you to ask yourself, and just notice, again, we're just unpacking this gently, what state is my nervous system in right now? And just notice, do I feel like I'm in a fight or flight response? Is there a lot of adrenaline, a lot of stress, activation, worry, anxiety? Is everything moving really, really fast inside of me, like I want to run away? or I just need to go do something about this and fix it? Or am I in more of like a freeze or fawn response where instead my body feels more like it's got to the point of shutdown? There's a collapse, a low energy, a hopelessness. I just want to give up. I just want to tap out. I just want to do nothing. Notice what's the state of your nervous system in that moment. And you might already have some gentleness and compassion that comes in here and be like, well, no wonder these are the thoughts that are going through my mind at the moment, because here's what's happening for me right now. I'm pretty dysregulated and I'm feeling all these sensations and emotions inside my body, and I actually haven't been dealing with any of that. I've just been ignoring it and trying to think my way over it. All right? The next question I ask myself is, what do I need? Now, this question can be hard to answer, so I'm going to give you some suggestions of what to do when you ask yourself that question. But what we do when we ask this question is we're not trying to change or eliminate what we're feeling. That's not our intention when we ask ourselves what we need. We are asking that question with the intention of, how do I take care of myself? How do I support myself right now with what's happening inside of me? Can you feel the difference in that? I'm not asking myself, what do I need because I need to make this go away. I'm asking it with love and attentiveness and care. What do I need to help myself process this, move through this, and come to a greater space of calm inside myself? And we're really asking this not from the perspective of, what do I need, like externally? What do I need to fix or change to make me feel better at, by fixing the problem? No, what does my body and nervous system need? What does my body need? That's what we're really asking. So here's a few things I would invite you to do when you ask that question. If you're not sure what the answer is, you can work through these pieces. First of all, bring breath into what you're feeling. Bring breath into the body. Bring some touch. Put your hands on the parts of your body where you're feeling the activation, the emotion, the tightness, the sensation. Let yourself make a sound, moan or sigh or groan, or make a sound that starts to let some of all this energy that you're feeling, let it out. Move your body. Yeah, so let your body start to maybe stretch or shake, or roll your shoulders, or move your hips, or roll through your neck and your head, or wiggle your toes. Bring some movement through the body that will help process and get moving what you're feeling. Okay, so I always work with that as a starting point, using breath, touch, movement, sound, and bringing awareness to whatever's alive and being with it. I also want you to notice, is there any emotion that wants to move? And when you really start to tune into the body, you might notice, oh my goodness, there's this sadness in my chest, I just want to cry. Or there's this ball of anger sitting inside of me, or there's so much frustration and I just want to punch some pillows and get it out. Notice if there's emotion that wants to move. Cry, yell, let yourself have some type of release of whatever emotion is present. Once you've done that, then notice what you could do for your body and your nervous system in this moment to invite in more calm, create a greater sense of safety, and soothe and regulate your nervous system. And I like to look at really simple things like, can I dim the lights? Do I want to put on some comfy clothes? Light a candle, put on some calming music, make a cup of herbal tea, stand outside and get some sunshine on my skin, ground my feet into the floor or into the earth, take slow, deep belly breaths. There are little things that you can do that bring in some resource and some safety, which allows your nervous system to shift out of feeling on guard, like there's a perceived threat that's making you unsafe in that moment. It helps remind yourself in that moment that you are safe, you are okay, and it brings some goodness and some support and some calm into your nervous system. Then look at some ways you might like to process all this energy through your body. So I know one way was to feel the emotion. Another way is to move your body, right? Do you need to stretch? Do you want to put on a song and dance? Do you want to go for a walk? Do you want to shake your body? We actually need to work on this embodied level to help move and process all of that excess energy that's been activated through this dysregulation that we're experiencing. And like I said, crying can really help with that, and moving emotion, or sometimes just moving the energy through your body through physical movement. You might also want to look at, how could I practice some self-care in this moment? And again, this is creating more soothing, more calm, more love, more safety for the body, so that all of these parts of you that are feeling stressed can just relax. Or all of these parts of you that are feeling sad and lonely and disconnected can feel like they're getting some love and attention and care. So maybe you want to run yourself a bath, have a nice, beautiful, warm shower, give yourself a nourishing body massage. Whatever feels like self-care to you can feel really nourishing and beautiful and soothing as well. So all of these practices are about tending to the nervous system. They're about connecting with what's happening in your body, processing the energy, the activation, the emotion that's alive, and bringing in more love, care, kindness, safety, resource, and support to these parts of yourself that have become dysregulated or are feeling a certain way. Now, once you move through a little process like that, some variation of that, all of that, however you want to do it, once you notice a shift in your energy, it could even be a 10% shift where you just feel a little bit calmer, a little bit more grounded, a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more self-connected, a little bit more optimistic. When you start to feel there's a shift in your embodied state, or there's more regulation happening in your nervous system, I want you to notice, have your thoughts changed? And I want you to notice, does your mind feel calmer? Are your thoughts moving slower? Is there just more spaciousness in the mind now? Maybe you're not thinking positive thoughts, but maybe those negative ones aren't as loud, aren't as dominant. Does your mind feel more relaxed? If you were to bring in a more positive or peaceful or optimistic thought, does it feel a little easier to get a grasp on it? Does it feel a little easier to think it? Is it a little easier now to think more calm or relaxed or kind thoughts? And do those thoughts actually feel more true and aligned now that you think them, versus something that you're forcing yourself to try to think and believe? Okay. I have done this practice so many times, and I have found the best way to get access to more positive, optimistic, loving, empowering, supportive thoughts, self-talk, and beliefs is to first tend to the nervous system and the body, is to first create a change at the level of my state, my emotional state and my nervous system state. And when you do this, it opens up access to a whole different way of thinking and perceiving a situation and seeing yourself. So really notice this next time you find yourself stuck in negative thoughts, stuck in your head, trying to create change to how you feel in some way. Work through this process instead and notice what changes in your mindset naturally without you having to force it. All right. So I really felt to bring that through because that has just been a practice that I have found so effective, and I think it's a game changer. So I'd invite you to take it on. If you would love some more support to do this work, because I know that I can share all these things around embodiment and nervous system work, and a lot of people can be a bit like, I get it, but I don't really know how to do it. That is why I created Embodied, which is my 4-week journey into embodiment, where you're getting video training, somatic practices, journaling prompts, all of these resources that will actually teach you how to get out of your head, how to get into your body, how to find inner calm and grounding, how to use things like breath and sound and movement and touch to soothe and support your nervous system. will actually teach you how to regulate yourself in moments of trigger, moments of big emotional activation. And you will start to develop this relationship with your body where you now know how to use somatic practices and tools to create tangible shifts in how you feel. I really designed Embodied to be a foundational journey, an introductory journey, but it's still so deep and so powerful. And it will teach you exactly how to do all of this work. So I'm so excited to lead this. I'm opening enrollments for this really soon. And it felt so important to create something that would give you the skills and the tools and the practices to actually put work like this into practice. So if you want to get on the waitlist for Embodied, go down to the show notes and follow that link to get on the waitlist. We're opening up enrollments really soon to the waitlist first, and I would love to see you in there. So I hope this episode has supported you. I hope this conversation has been super potent and has spoken to exactly what you needed to hear in this moment. If you love this episode, make sure you're subscribed to Awaken Radio so you never miss an episode. And I look forward to talking to you again next time.